Something I haven't done a video on. I work in a research group, do atmospheric chemistry, so I'm just doing a bit of maintenance. I come and this is a weather station I installed a lot of years ago. The sort of thing I do, I built this setup for this sun tracker. So we have a sun tracker here, and the light from the sun, the mirrors look quite dirty, but actually it's using infrared light, not visible light. But we have these gold-plated mirrors, and this is tracking the sun, putting a beam of light down through this hole in the centre. I don't know whether this will be seen, but there is a hole in the centre there, and going down into an instrument down the bottom in the laboratory below. And the light from the sun is coming down through the entire atmosphere, and the infrared light is absorbed by various species of gas that are in the atmosphere. So by collecting that light and putting it down into an instrument, which I'll take a video of when I go downstairs, that instrument can then measure the total amounts of these gases. Carbon dioxide is the primary one, so it's a TCON station, Total Carbon Column Observing Network. And this site is one of about 25 or something around the world. We look after another one up in Darwin in Australia, and also one of our team looks after one that he was very instrumental in setting up in the Philippines. But satellites fly over and target us. We get notified that they're going to look at us, and we measure the same atmosphere as the satellites, and we can make sure our instruments are precise and accurate, doing the right thing, and it allows them to validate the measurements of the satellites. So right now, this is this whole setup is automated by software I wrote, and I'm currently rewriting in Python. I was made to write it in Visual Basic, which made me very unhappy. But so this weather station, see there's no wind at the moment, and obviously no rain. We've got a solar radiation sensor here, and I do a check on the solar radiation. I calculate what the watts per square metre would be with the amount of at time of day and elevation of the sun, and with that information I can calculate what we should get, and if everything's right and I get over I think it's 90%, and I'm closed, I open it, 90% of the calculated, and if I get less than 70% and I'm open, well, that'll just seem that as rain. So there's a little, yeah, if it's open and I see less than 70%, I close it. I can change those thresholds, but that's what I'm doing. This is a tipping bucket rain gauge, so there's a little bucket, there's a bucket here. You can see here, this thing, that goes on there, and it collects water, and at the moment, if we look, also collecting, I don't know whether that's able to be seen, but it's collecting bird poo, which is exactly why I'm up here. Look at that. So I've got a bucket of water here, and I've got myself a bit of cloth, or at least paper towel. So water fills into that funnel and fills up one of these, and this can tip, and when it gets full it tips, and there's a little counter that counts how many times it's tipped. There's a sensor here, and when a little bit here goes across the top of that sensor, it measures it, it sees it, and it counts how many times it measures, and that gives it total rain and rain rate depending on how it counts how many times and how fast it's switching. So, but that doesn't work so well when you got bird crap in the funnel, and the birds come and sit on the side of this funnel. The birds sit on the side of this funnel and poo in it. I've got one over just behind those trees. Over there, there's a brand new building. It's an $80 million building that's just been put in, and it's got a $13 million microscope in it. And actually up on the roof, you can't quite see, but through there, there's an astronomical dome, and I work on the telescope up in there. We're setting up a new telescope on campus for student use, but also for research. But we're just going through the setup phase. And there's a new platform on the roof, which I can take a video of and post as well. But we're moving over our measurements into that laboratory. But we're still in the process of getting the whole thing set up. The instrument that's downstairs that this is feeding is about $400,000 Australian, and this sun tracker to buy new without the cover that I made is about $100,000 for that Australian. So actually I'm actually starting to work on, there's an institute over in New Zealand called NIWA in Lauder that have got a TCCON station as well, and they've designed their own sun tracker in-house, and we've decided we won't buy this commercial one. We've had trouble with them, and I have one downstairs that's playing up. But yes, this we're going to use their design, so that's one of my jobs I'm actively working on, is working out how to build one of theirs. They're sending an example over, and I've got some pieces, so I might make a little video on that. But anyway, this thing's all fully automated and just sits here, runs 24/7, 365 days a year, and you know, it opens and closes. If the clouds come over, it closes. If I get rain, I close it. There's a little sensor down here called a leaf wetness sensor, and there's copper tracks or brass, whatever they are. One set from this side, one set from that side, and they don't actually make contact. And if it gets wet, it actually allows electricity to flow across, and that gets measured on an arbitrary 0 to 15 number, 0 being dry and 15 being wet. And I close the thing if that gets up to 3 out of 15. I close it if I see any rain. But I'm up here this morning. Sorry, I'm just... we've sold 2 of these complete tracker covers into China, and I was supposed to go to China to install them, but with the political situation as it is, and the COVID situation, but possibly more the political now, we've had Australian journalists had to escape from China, and I don't know, I'd be going into scientific institutes and I'd be feeling nervous they might decide I'm a spy or something at the moment, the way it is. But I have to explain to the Chinese researchers how to install these. So tomorrow I'll be pulling this cover off and having a look at how it all is. This is there's a spring return for closing. There's a pneumatic cylinder here that opens it. See, it opens it on that end, pushes a rod out through there to push this open, and then it's got this spring to return it. So it's a very simple design. This cover bolts onto the sun tracker, the existing sun tracker. There's an adapter plate in here, and then This plate sits on top, and then this is all the optics. This does the elevation. This mirror turns like this and picks up the elevation of the sun, and then this whole thing rotates, and then that puts the beam of light down through this hole into the laboratory, into the instrument. And there's a set of diodes down in the instrument that automatically compensate for this adjustment on this to keep it pointed at the centre of the sun. So that'll be a job for tomorrow. But I thought I'd come up now, and I've got to take this cover off tomorrow, and I've got a research assistant that works with us who hasn't worked with these, who is going to be my guinea pig. I'm going to get him to pull this apart tomorrow based on my instructions, and we'll check this. I'll just pull this end cover off and make sure that the bearing inside of that little bearing block in there is alright and so forth, and take some photos as we do it so I can send instructions to the researchers in China. But anyway, I just thought, as a change from the Buick, which is my normal thing, got a little camera here. This is the sort of stuff I do, is install this. I bought this aluminium post pipe. I'd say I bought that about, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe 18 years ago, from a scrap merchant, and just bolted it onto the rails here and attached. That's just a camera so we can see what's going on from off the campus if we're not sure that that's closed, and that's got infrared lights on it and infrared camera so we can see it at night. So if we're not 100% sure that this is closed and it's looking like rain or something like that, we can log in from home instead of driving in and coming up on the roof in the rain to make sure everything's as it should be. But anyway, so I might do a few more of these videos of this stuff, because I find it interesting anyway. I know it's not a Buick, but it's interesting stuff. Alright, I better clean up the bird poo and get this back together again, because the wind blew this cup over, so it'll have registered that there's been some rain when clearly there's not. I need to get this little funnel back on. Alright, that'll do for now. Here's the other end of that beam of light. So there's a hole through the roof, and that sun tracker that you saw before is up on the top of this pipe. I've got a pipe in a pipe because we had to run all these cables up through there, and the cables were getting the beam of light. But there is the beam of light coming into this sun tracker, and you can see there's the overfill. The light's bigger than the input, which is what we want. And then this is the spectrometer. This is a Fourier transform infrared spectrometer. It's a high resolution spectrometer, and the light comes in here, goes onto that, comes in through this. This is under vacuum, so this is under high vacuum. There's a vacuum pump down there that evacuates, so we need this really nice thick. We wanted to see that beam, so I got this made. It came with these metal plates, but we wanted to be able to see this part, the input stage. So it goes from there through onto this mirror here, then bounces across onto this mirror, and this mirror, that's a flat mirror here, and this one is spherical, parabola I think, and it comes and focus the light here. You can't actually see it real well because it's so bright, but there is a set of apertures on there, just holes. You can see there's a larger one off to the off here, that's the larger hole, and you can see on the other side over here, there's smaller holes through here. So they're different size, and there's a motor that drives that. And the image of the centre of the sun goes through that pinhole, through a hole, and into this compartment here. And actually there's a beam splitter in here, and half the light goes up this leg here and onto a mirror, and that mirror moves up along this, and the position of the mirror is measured actually by 0 crossings of a laser, and that's an oscilloscope showing, mapping the laser. There's 2 channels in there, and then comes back in, recombines in the beam splitter, and then goes down here, and there's liquid nitrogen cooled detectors down here. Take my word for it, that's what's inside of here. And so here's our liquid nitrogen viewer. You can just, oops, wrong one. So there's our liquid nitrogen. And this, I'll just turn off the task manager. This is the software that I wrote. It's running at this form here, is getting information from the sun tracker, and it's down here, it's getting information about the weather and the position of the sun and so forth. That's just measuring on. There's a console down here that receives from that weather station up the top, and that is deciding whether or not to. And so currently you can see that the tracker is open and the tracker's in tracking mode, so it's actually following the beam. And actually there'll be a another bit of software down here that's closed at the moment here. This is talking to the spectrometer, and that green light down here shows that it's actually collecting spectra. So this is all cables that are this sort of stuff I do, running all these cables across to get everything, and running all the cables up there. I'm a technical person in the group. I'm actually a fitter machinist by trade, but found myself doing this. And actually this is the broken sun tracker that I was talking about before. It's not broken as such, it's it just, I don't know, something in the control box here once a week or something, it just doesn't keep running, and it causes real grief. And this was in Darwin, so it's 3,000 kilometres away, so whenever it stopped, it was I had to get someone up in Darwin to come out and look at it. But so this mirror here turns, there's a motor in here, and this whole thing drives by this motor over here, and this is the adapter plate. This is for China, so this goes inside of here, and then there's a plate goes onto there to mount the cover, and then these go back on the top. I've got dowels in here to keep everything in the right positions and so forth. So that's our high resolution setup.